I mean, I would have loved the one fully original thing, which was the
Is this doing?
elf family thing. I like that. Arendir being
Oh, yeah.
Theo's stepdad.
You know, this should have been a story about families: elf families,
Yeah.
mixed families, orc families,
Yeah, dwarf families.
dwarf families.
Yeah, because you got Glug in there.
Glug and his son.
Yeah, and maybe
His wife.
maybe Glug and Arondir like they become neighbors or something. And
Yeah.
it's like
Then it's like a sitcom.
yeah, Glug like I don't know. His lawn is like super like disheveled because he's an orc and he doesn't know better.
Yeah. Yeah. And they get all these hijinks with oh.
Glug put black goo in my lawnmower.
Oh.
Yeah. We could pitch a better season.
No,
3,
we could have. Yeah.
Because it's the same show, but it's like season 3 just takes a huge turn.
Yeah, season 3. Yeah, it opens up instead of like the shitty intro they have now. It's like in '80s with like the the font.
Everywhere you look, everywhere you look.
It's Glug, he's turning-
Glug looking around.
Well,
his wife with his orc
Sadly,
baby.
he's
Yeah,
no longer
well.
with us. But
God. We'd bring Glug back. We'd find a way.
yeah. Well, they brought Arondir back from episode 7 to episode 8. He definitely died.
Yeah, he'll pull up. Clearly, he has a death scene. We'll just pull
Yeah.
up in the next scene.
It's like, well, he only got stabbed in the chest. He's
Yeah,
probably
right.
fine.
It's probably fine. Orcs are sturdy. You know,
Sturdy folk.
they're sturdy folk.
We're just two buddies discussing fantasy. Oh God, it's sorta sorcery.
I don't know. Everywhere you look, everywhere there's a ring.
Boosh.
Boosh. Boosh. That's gotta be my favorite leitmotif
Yeah.
of ever.
Honestly, of ever. Yeah. Just really good.
Nobody's doing it like that.
Nobody's doing abrasive, horrible sound effects like that. Because the first time they do it, you're like, what?
What's going on?
Because it's like a ring, so you have
Yeah,
a
'cause it's
ringing
a ring,
sound effect.
And
That's
it's evil,
Stupid.
so it's annoying.
But they really Pavlov you. They train you to love that ring
Yeah.
sound effect to the point where like when a ring will pop up on screen, you're
I'm
like,
waiting for
yeah,
it.
you're
Give
like
it to me.
your body tenses. You're waiting for the sound
Yeah.
effect.
And I want to be tense watching a show.
Yeah.
I want to be very tense.
And I give this show 10s out of 10.
I give this show 1/10 stars.
Oh, boosh. Fuck this show.
Yeah.
We hate this show.
Yeah, except for all
and
the
we-
male
and we
actors, they
hate
did a really good
wokeness.
job.
And actually, Sauron was pretty cool. And Celebrimbor, he cried, and I didn't like that, so I'm going to put
Didn't
that,
like that.
on the thumbnail
He
of this
wouldn't
video.
do that because he's a
Celebrimbor would not
man.
cry because he's a man. And Galadriel wouldn't either because she's stoic
'Cause-
or something.
yeah.
We don't see much of her in the books, but
No, we don't-
I'm sure
no, but I
get
like
a-
what I see.
I have a pretty
more
good
than
idea of
this.
her personality, you know. So we're talking about Rings
Yeah,
of Power.
so Rings of Power. Look, we're gonna get you back to call post haste.
I know you want Kevin Sorbo. I know your body. It's
We're
waiting,
edging you a little bit with the call
waiting
episode.
for Kevin Sorbo.
We're
Oh,
edging
Kevin
you a little
Sorbo.
bit. But something came up. Okay, something very important came up.
And it's Rings of Power.
Rings of Power, season 2.
We got a ring on the phone. Ring.
Ring. Sorta Sorcery boys, when you please cover Rings of Power.
Please defend us from the insane people.
The
who
stocks
hate
are
this
crashing.
Show.
Amazon's going under.
And we're Amazon's biggest.
As we have
agents.
mentioned before, it's a long-running bit on the podcast. We're sponsored by Amazon Prime Video.
Jeff Bezos called us on the line personally.
Yeah, and said, boys,
Boys,
we need you.
You gotta defend Galadriel. You got a white knight for Galadriel, and we're just guys.
Nobody else is doing it.
I guess Elrond is doing that.
Elrond's
also.
doing it, yeah. But I don't.
Yeah,
Well,
we're better than Elrond.
We'll get into what I think about Elrond's character.
Yeah.
Stupid
he's no
haircut.
Agent Smith.
Stupid haircut.
He's no Agent Smith.
No, he's not. He is not.
But who is, right? And they brought in a new guy to play Agent Smith in Matrix Resurrections.
Yeah.
And I didn't like that because
No, I
that was
didn't like
also
that
woke.
either.
That was also woke.
That was too
They
woke.
made trendy important. Hate that.
Mm.
We're straddling the line here on Sorta Sorcery today. We want both sides to get in.
Yeah.
Both sides can have something fun to talk about. Matrix Resurrections, woke, bad, garbage. Rings of Power, hey, maybe whatever. Who knows?
Maybe the jury's
Maybe jury's still out.
still out.
Matrix Resurrections was pretty cool though. It was pretty good.
It was honestly, it was a good ride.
Yeah.
It was fun.
Which maybe that ruins our credibility to talk about this also. Maybe we just
Ooh.
like woke bad garbage.
Yeah.
You know.
But here's the thing, all right? Here's the thing. When you watch a show or you watch a movie, you need to ask yourself before you click on the TV, before you step in the theater,
Before you turn on Amazon Prime. Sponsored by
Return
Amazon
Amazon Prime. Hashtag Amazon Prime.
Hashtag
Amazon Prime Video. Hashtag student discount. $7.99
partner
a month.
deal. Hashtag Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, the one we left out was hashtag sponsored because
Yeah.
we're trying to get to that point. Before you consume any kind of media, you should you should be in a neutral headspace. Okay. You shouldn't go in like, oh, women, minorities.
But it's like,
you shouldn't go in like that.
I think a certain kind of guy just. The last time he was in a neutral, and it is a he. And he is a guy.
It's a he. And
The last time he was
is a
in
him.
a neutral headspace like that in any way was like, I don't know, 2015.
Yeah.
Like for the past 8 years, he's been like dialed, and he can't, because of that, he can't live normally. He can't watch media normally.
Yeah.
And that, I don't know, maybe affects your views on Rings of Power.
Maybe it does.
Yeah.
Because you don't have to, I don't know, you don't have to approach everything like, well, it's got to be good in these ways. It's got to be, if it's an adaptation, it's got to be accurate to the source material. It's got to do justice to all my own personal imaginations about what the characters look like and how they acted and what things happened. It can be enjoyable for a lot of reasons.
Yeah.
Any media you consume can be enjoyable for many reasons.
Yeah.
It can be funny. It can evoke joy.
Yeah.
Okay.
And hey, Tolkien loves joy.
He loves joy.
Maybe not in the strict sense in which we're using it, but I felt
pure
joy.
sense.
I certainly felt joy as I watched it.
And that's good enough, I think.
Yeah.
That's good. If you have a good time watching something, that's good enough.
Yeah. You know, if you don't understand you catastrophe, hey buddy, you the catastrophe.
Oh yeah, hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Tolkien
Learn you
joke.
something today.
Tolkien joke.
That's how you know we're real fans.
Yeah,
So we
right.
have the right to speak on
We've
this.
read his philological work.
Ooh. We're the
Philological?
academic. Yeah, no.
Yeah. Philological.
Philology is the ology.
He is a philologist.
He's a philologist.
So his work is
philological.
philological. Yeah.
Yeah. And that's why we're smarter than you, and we
Yeah.
have a right to speak on
Oh
this.
yeah. And we're also more attractive than you. Don't look that up.
Don't even worry
Don't
about
check that, but we are. Yeah.
Yeah, just check the Conan 1982 poster.
Check the Barbarians poster.
Yeah, that's us.
That's us.
That's us. But yeah, I mean, you know, we're strong intellectuals,
Yeah.
and we're gonna talk today.
Intellectual.
We're buff intellectuals. We're gonna pontificate for a while about this show, our thoughts on the show, the characters, the plot points. We're gonna talk some about the production, reception, as we often do. And let's just dive right in. It's gonna be, we're not gonna plot summarize 2 seasons of Rings of Power, guys.
Yeah.
We were all
'cause
there.
It's like,
We were all there.
We all have it, burned into our memory, like visions in the Palantir.
Oh yeah.
If you haven't watched this show,
Just to give it a watch, man.
Yeah.
Give it a watch. I don't know. It's not like that many. You're scrolling on TikTok for 8 hours of your life
right?
in a week normally.
Yeah, you're
So
looking
just
through
spend
Joe
that
Rogan
time.
clips and whatever Ben Shapiro, whatever what you
uh-huh.
like. Just instead of that, watch Rings of Power.
Do
instead
this
of watching
instead.
them summarize Rings of Power and like be like, oh, this is bad. And
Yeah,
woke.
you're gonna get so many YouTube video essays about Rings of Power. Don't watch
Us
them.
included.
Don't watch them. Yeah, watch ours.
I guess whatever. We're a podcast. We're different. You
Yeah.
know, we put less effort in because we
yeah,
don't have
we're
a
not gonna
visual
go through the
component.
work of pulling clips from the movie.
Fuck that. I
Fuck
don't
that
honestly.
shit, dude.
To be completely honest, I don't know how to do that.
No, couldn't if I tried.
I couldn't have tried.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, characters.
Wow.
Characters in the show.
Characters in the show. Yeah. I'm looking at Amazon. I'm looking at IMDb for the characters in the show, and I just got brain blasted again. Palantir.
Yeah. Mind freak.
Because in like the whatever IMDb, there's trivia, there's goofs, there's crazy credits, and there's the connections for like bits of other media that like connect to this. And the connection for Rings of Power is in fact not whatever
Peter
Lord
Jackson's
of the Rings. Yeah, the book, the movie,
Yeah.
whatever. It's featured in The Critical Drinker, The Rings of Power, War for a Fandom.
Ooh.
It was like, speaking of bad video essays.
Yeah.
Yeah. So why IMDb linked that, I couldn't really
That's an
tell
interesting
you.
link. Yeah.
It's an interesting pull.
Maybe you can petition to be put in the
Oh,
connections.
you're saying he put
Yeah.
himself in there?
Yeah.
Yeah, I could see that. So I guess, okay, the season starts with Sauron, right?
Yeah.
Like it starts with
Yeah, because we got that
Yeah.
big revelation end of season 1. The guy who was definitely Sauron was Sauron.
Honestly, I didn't. And again, maybe this cuts my credibility. I did not expect it.
He got mind freaked.
Yeah, I got mind freaked. Yeah.
You were just like, oh, he's like an evil guy. He's an evilly guy.
I was just like, I don't know who this guy is. I don't
What's
know.
this guy's deal?
Who is this guy?
Who is Alfred?
He's freaky, man. He's freaky.
Yikes.
And that's he's a goo guy. And it's like, oh.
And then you know he's a good guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, so this guy is polarizing. What's interesting to note is that I would say we probably had not like a negative portrayal of Sauron, but I feel like this is sort of my one book reader gripe. Is like I don't like the way they did Sauron.
No, I mean, I think it just speaks to some kind of shift that's occurred in like character writing and villain writing specifically.
Yeah.
Every villain is like low key now.
Yeah.
And they're not low key. I would like a low key villain.
I'd like a low key, yeah.
I'd like a chiller.
Yeah.
This guy, no, he's not a chiller. It's just like, I don't know. I'm tortured. You know, I'm like Paradise Lost Satan, but bad. Or I guess Satan's bad, but like worse written.
Yeah, but I'm not good.
I'm not good. Yeah. And I'm made of goo also. Paradise Lost Satan, not made of goo. Interesting.
What a wild. I mean, I would love to be in the writer's room and they're like, okay, so we're going to have this scene, right, where Sauron is destroyed, is disembodied for the first time. And then how do we bring him back? I was like, well,
he's a spaghetti goo monster.
What if he turned into goo and he seeped through the floor?
He's made of squid ink spaghetti.
And then he ate a couple rats in the sewers.
Just so unceremonious. Gosh.
It's like, is this like this alien thing from outer space? This is like our bad guy?
Yeah, it's like that's our villain.
Our spirit of evil.
And he proceeds to use his goo throughout the season. Which was
that he does.
Treat. Which was a treat, I think. And you know what? I hated the decision, sure. Of course. But I respected that they leaned into it. They leaned in.
No,
the Rings of Power writers
they doubled down on the goo.
And they doubled down.
They did not want you to forget that he was made of goo.
Other writers, they would have done that. They would have discarded it. Don't think about the goo again. They want you to know. In every scene, this guy, underneath is goo.
The veneer. Underneath the veneer. Yeah, I think it does speak to this just being a different kind of story than like the original Lord of the Rings. Because it's not, straight up good and evil in the same way that you have Sauron, who's just kind of a disembodied, like, ominous force within the world.
Yeah, exactly.
Acting, on the darker inclinations of, like, the races. So it's not even necessarily like we see Sauron, like, kill a bunch of people in Lord of the Rings. It's just like he's this corrupting influence on the world that's spreading, like, desolation and he's got his little minions, his orcish minions, but...
And it kind of goes into the whole thing of, like, Tolkien, in creating this story, is trying to, like, do something. Like, he's not trying to, I guess, just create a world. He's doing that. But, like, the way in which the world is important is in its representation of this, like, cosmic, or just, like, not even cosmic, just the struggle of good and evil within just, like, the heart of man. And that's it's very effective when you do that through the lens of, like, a villain who is this, like, force, this overall thing. It's not very, like, characterized. He just is evil, and his evil is shown through the characters who we love. But then when he's like just
it's struggle between good and goo. It's like
I'm choosing good every time. Good versus goo. It's man versus nature, man versus self, man versus society, man versus goo. I mean, that's Flubber.
That's the Blob.
The Blob.
1940s, the Blob.
Yeah, I was thinking of the Blob when we were talking earlier. I couldn't remember the name. I was thinking Flubber instead.
Wild Bull with Flubber.
No, fuck off. People know Flubber. I would say, if you polled most people, they know Flubber before they know the Blob.
You think so?
I honestly think so, because I think they know the Blob from like their middle school, like whatever, film and lit class. They know Flubber on a person level. They know Flubber intimately.
They know Flubber as a friend, as a lover.
Flubber, I hardly know.
Boosh. Yeah, I don't
Yeah.
like the goo guy, but it was really funny. I mean, like, can we
Yeah,
talk
right?
about that? You're allowed to not like something on a narrative level,
Uh-huh.
but also enjoy it at a visual, like, media consumption level.
Yes, and I think people like get mad because I think that it's impossible to watch this entire season and not on some level find something
Yeah.
funny.
Yeah.
But I think people get mad when they experience that because they're like, oh, they're making fun of
This
Lord
is
of
a
the Rings.
serious story.
It's a serious story. But it's like, I don't know. It can be silly.
No,
Also.
it can be silly.
Sam's like a
It
silly
can be
guy,
silly.
you know?
Sam's silly.
He's
yeah.
walking around. He's walking through hell. He's
Oh,
bringing
Mr.
his pots
Frodo.
and pans. He's talking
Oh,
about
the
fish and chips.
taters.
Yeah,
Oh.
exactly.
My pots and pans.
Like, it can be fun.
It can be
You can
funny,
have fun
guys.
with it.
Come on.
And that's an important part of fantasy is fun, enjoyment.
Yeah.
And then again, by that same Tolkien, he does lay out in the On Fairy Stories essay that like the one rule of what you should not do is make the like fantasy device, the magic, silly. Don't
Yeah.
like whatever. Don't make it something that can be made fun of.
Uh-huh.
And it's like, yeah, if you're taking that as a hard and fast rule, this show fails.
Yeah.
The show
yeah.
fails on
well,
that.
when he jizzes in the rings, it's like that's pretty unacceptable.
But it's unacceptable for a lot of reasons. But I think that rule can be pushed back on. I think there are stories that can use magic in a way that is like silly
Yeah.
and still
Yeah.
be like enjoyable stories, and they're enjoyable because they're silly. And I think it can still work on a fantastical level even with that. Take like the Discworld series. It's all silly. Everything's silly.
Yeah. It's true.
And where Discworld has like a heart beneath it that I would say that this
Rings
does
of
not
power.
have.
Yeah. Lacks.
The experience on at least a surface level is the same.
And the experience is good. It was a good
The
experience.
experience is good.
Yeah, people they loved like Charlie Vickers acting as Halbrand / Sauron / Anantar.
Yes, yeah.
And I feel like I have a difference of opinion. Like I don't
Yeah.
there was there's one review which I'll return to
Oh,
at
boy.
many points.
Oh boy.
This Forbes article by Eric Kane and loves
Let's hear his
Charlie
address,
Vickers.
too.
Thinks we're gonna dox him as much as possible. I know honestly it's like go read his review and see for yourself what you think. He's a public
Form your
figure.
own
He's
opinions.
writing in the public
Form
domain.
your own opinion.
Form your own opinions. Do your own research.
That's what this podcast is all about. For the new listeners who are coming here from
That's
the
our
Rings of Power
slogan.
hate. Yeah.
Do your own research.
Do your own research. Sure, we like Rings of Power, but we also hate the vaccine, so
Yeah,
we're pretty good.
I don't. He said, and I quote: "First and foremost, Charlie Vickers as Anantar / Sauron basically held this season together through sheer force of will.
And it's like
He was genuinely great in every scene.
Yeah, I don't know.
I don't think that's true.
I really don't know if that's true.
I don't think it's true. I don't know. He was like fine.
He was okay. He was really just okay.
Yeah, but he was playing a character I've seen a million times in like Marvel.
Yeah, I've watched
Cinema.
Loki. Yeah. And Loki was pretty good.
Yeah.
You know? Tom Hiddleston
Uh-huh.
did Sauron better than Sauron, I think.
Yeah. Well, and it's like there's only so much acting you can do when, like the gaslighting that Sauron does, that's like his power.
Yeah.
It's not subtle at all. Like it's super overt.
Yeah, it's like he's the father of lies, but you kind of get lies as like, I don't know, deception generally on like a desire
Mhm,
level. Like
mhm.
a much more broad level in
Yeah.
like the books. You would just like Satan kind of thing. you
Yeah.
know?
Yeah.
But in this, it's like, I don't know, toxic boyfriend. Like that's the that's the like lies we're getting here.
Yeah.
In a very
yeah.
interesting way. Yeah. In a way that's like. Also, I feel like I don't know. I wouldn't get got by that.
No, I don't think I get got by it.
I don't think I'd get
Yeah.
got in the way that Celebrimbor does.
But it's like maybe there's some more subtle mind freak happening that we don't
I mean,
see.
yeah,
There's like actual magic at play.
Yeah, he gives away the ghost halfway, or not halfway. Like by the end, he's like, "Yeah, I could just control you the whole time."
Yeah. Well, he gives away the goo.
Yeah, he gives away the goo.
He does.
And he does give
And he
away
does
the goo.
give away the
Because what we've been alluding to, for those who have not watched this insane season of television.
Oh man, it's good.
So there are these 9 rings for men.
So there are these rings.
So there are
you
these
see.
so there are these rings of power.
These rings of power.
God, we haven't even talked about what this show's about. Whatever. Okay, so like in the books,
Right.
the 9 rings,
Right.
ring wraiths,
Nazgul.
Nazgul,
Nazgul.
Nazgul.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Oh fuck.
Tolkien was trying to tell us the whole time.
Nazgul.
Nazgul.
Nazgooful.
Nah.
Full of goo.
Uh-huh. So the whole thing in the season is like, oh, we can't make the rings for men.
Yeah.
Men will get corrupted
Men
so easily.
suck.
Men can't wear rings.
No. You kidding? This is 12-2 AD.
We haven't invented Johnny Depp yet.
Yeah,
no,
right?
Men can't wear
There are
rings.
no alt men among us.
There are no alt men. So yeah, Celebrimbor is like, oh, I'm not going to make rings for men.
Yeah.
And then Sauron, the whole season's like gaslighting him into
Rings for men, rings for men.
Rings for men, rings for men, rings for men. That's what we're about in this podcast.
We're about
also.
rings for men.
We're about rings for men.
We're about 9 rings for men.
So yeah, he makes the rings, and then like, okay, so he's making the rings, and he's getting like, mind whammied, and we'll get more into this when we're talking about Celebrimbor. But like, he's in the astral plane or something.
Yeah.
He's being like,
Yeah, he's in a time loop.
hallucinating. Yeah, he's in a time loop. So he thinks he's like making these rings out of mithril.
Yeah.
He's got another thing coming. He's
got
making those
another
rings
go.
out of goo,
Ooh.
out of Sauron jizz.
Yeah, man. Gave him a pocket full of goo.
I got a pocket full of goo.
Oh, it's so good.
Natasha Bedingfeld returns to the
Pocket full of goo.
podcast after much wait.
Yeah. So now they've been imbued, because that was the problem with the other rings. It was so hard to directly control them.
But it's like, and we'll talk about this when we talk about the other characters. The other rings that are made of mithril, are so evil.
They're very evil.
They're so evil.
They're barely good at all.
They're constantly making people do evil things and act evilly. But now, like, we have to really double down and like make them goo rings.
Yeah, they're goo rings. Yeah.
So I guess, I mean, and what I was saying when we were watching this is maybe men are just so inherently good. Better than these fucking elves and dwarves. We need.
Yeah,
the
I mean
goo
that
rings.
seems like the implication. Because obviously in the real story, right, there's not really this implication that like the rings for men are qualitatively different than the other rings. It's just that like the elves are a nobler race or whatever than men, and men are corrupted to a greater degree, and they become thralls of.
But I guess
Dark
like
Lord.
in the logic, like the moral logic of this show, races are not like morally distinct in that way. So like, I guess you would need some kind of mechanism by which
if
the
you're
men would
changing it,
become
I do think that
more-
makes sense.
Yeah.
I think there could have been a more subtle,
I
tasteful
believe
solution than goo in the rings.
Because I mean, it just feels like such a like short-sighted move.
Yeah.
Because like if you made the rings just normal, then we could watch the like corruption happening. Because like presumably
No, it's gonna be a Venom symbiote. The minute they put on the rings, it's gonna be a Venom symbiote.
Yeah.
the goo's gonna consume them.
They're eating brains.
Yeah.
Yeah, and like because there's a while that the men and like the Lord, there's a while that the men have the rings and they're like normal.
And they're chilling. Yeah.
And they're good and they're chill. And Isildur's gonna get the ring. Is he gonna be a goo guy?
Yeah, he's gonna be a goo guy. Well, we haven't seen the one ring made yet, but
Oh, true. Yeah, he doesn't have one of the rings for men. He has he has the big one. The big one.
Yeah. When we get the big ring, it's gonna be just a big ring of goo, probably.
I mean, yeah, but I would have expected that from the One Ring because that's the one that Sauron makes himself.
Yeah.
Right. So I would, okay, that's gonna be the goo one. But then I don't.
It's gonna be the goo
I guess
ring.
I'm just too hung up on this. But it's like I really don't know why the rings for men are not mithril in the same way as the other rings, and then we can just see, oh, these men are just easily corruptible.
Yeah.
I don't know. It seems like just you're losing like the moral strength of the story for like I don't know prequel explanation. I guess. Like,
yeah. Yeah, I see that. I mean, that's a problem. It's a problem with the show.
Yeah.
It's a problem.
Yeah.
We shall say.
It's the only problem. It's the only problem with the show.
We loved everything else.
Is the goo ring.
It's the goo ring.
See, that's the thing. In none of these other reviews for Rings of Power, I'm seeing a lot of shit about whatever. Galadriel sucks.
Yeah.
Women are stupid.
Yeah, women are dumb.
And it's like, sure, I agree with all that. But
why is Durin in a mixed race marriage?
Miscegenation's horrible. Yeah, all these fine normal things for a fucking show review to be talking about.
Yeah.
No one's talking about the goo.
Nobody's talking about the goo.
Nobody's talking about the goo.
No.
No one's a goo forward podcast. Like
No, we're
Will
putting
and
the goo right out front.
We're going to you.
You're getting gooed.
You're getting gooed. Whatever instantly. Second the podcast starts.
Yeah, but come on strong.
Yeah, we have imbued our recording equipment with
goo,
with the black goo which courses through our veins.
That's why you just can't turn it off. You can't look away.
I wonder how that's gonna sound on the.
It's gonna sound really crispy. I'm sure.
I'm sure. Okay, so whatever. We've been alluding to Celebrimbor.
Yeah.
We can maybe skip over to him.
Yeah, another character portrait here.
Yeah. And there's, I mean, from my perspective, not much to say on him this season.
Yeah.
He's just getting gaslit.
He's getting
every
incredibly
scene with
gaslit.
him, it's the same scene, and you always think he's gonna get out of it, but he never does. Which I guess is like, I don't know. I haven't really looked into like the creator's intentions with this season. Maybe they're trying to like do a message about like gaslighting. Like maybe the idea is like whatever. Some girl or whatever, some person,
some individual
is like watching the show with their partner, their like horrible gaslighting partner who's like a big Lord of the Rings fan.
Yeah. Big goo guy.
And the whole time, whatever he's watching, he's fuming. I hate Rings of Power. I hate this show. She looks over at him. She's like, maybe this guy is doing the Sauron thing to me.
Yeah.
Maybe he's gaslighting me.
Maybe I shouldn't be making these rings.
she's milling away. Making rings. Wait a second, this is goo.
Oh, you?
But a serious way of saying is maybe this is like supposed to be a PSA about like abuse generally. Maybe by watching Celebrimbor get his mind whammy.
Yeah.
We can be like, oh well, maybe my guy's not so good either. You know.
Yeah. And I think I don't know. I can definitely see the commendable aspect of their goals in writing this. But I also feel like the writing itself could have been a little bit better.
Well, yeah.
Because, a lot of like the gaslighting is kind of like, oh, like, wait a minute, are you evil? Are you bad? And it's like,
nope.
Oh, Celebrimbor, you're crazy.
You're crazy. You're evil, actually.
You're tired. You need a nap. Like, you need to
like
think this through.
How I got gaslighting explained to me on like TikTok. You know?
Yeah.
And the thing is like, if we're assuming the best possible scenario, where the writers do want this to be a PSA of some kind, if I'm the person in the scenario, like in real life, who's like whatever, being gaslit, I'm seeing Celebrimbor on screen, and I'm like, this guy's a fucking idiot. I'm like,
why
I'm not like him.
Just, come to his senses.
So it's like I don't think it's gonna work in that way.
Yeah.
What I enjoy about the Celebrimbor's subplot is just how easy it is for Sauron to flip everybody on this guy.
Everybody gets flipped on him.
Yeah. Nobody's coming to his defense.
No, nobody comes to his defense. And I guess like the implication we get kind of in the end when Celebrimbor is talking to Galadriel is he's like, whatever. I got mind whammied. I got mind freaked a little bit. But I also like low-key wanted to make the rings.
And it's like, who wouldn't?
And it's like, I get you. I get you there.
You're real for that. You're real for that, Celebrimbor. Real as fuck.
But yeah, I mean, I don't know, like he lives and then he doesn't. And it feels like a lot of these plot points were kind of predetermined because that was just how, the story goes.
It's like I wonder if he's gonna make the 9 rings for men.
Mm-hmm.
And I guess whatever the twist that we get is that they're not made of what you think they're made of.
They're made of something else.
But that doesn't really feel like a satisfying reason for this to exist.
Sure.
I always come back to the feeling that this show would be improved if it was like whatever the Rings Power stuff's happening in the background, but we're focusing on like one satisfying story that's like pretty removed from that, but still affected by like the wider political shifts. And we'll talk about this when we get to Isildur, but like I just feel like the closeness that we have on these characters is to the detriment of the story. Like whatever, it's the important story of the age is like the Rings Power and the making of
the rings being made.
But like I can't help but feel like it's all telegraphed. We know where this is gonna go. If maybe we were following, a small plucky band of people who maybe their story's not being told in history, and we don't know already what the fuck's gonna happen with them. Maybe that would be a more satisfying story. But instead, we're following Celebrimbor and agonizing over whether or not the weird poem from the beginning of Lord of the Rings is going to come to pass.
Yeah.
I wonder. I wonder.
Well, I think the writing suffers because it's just spread so thin across all these plot lines. And, like, it's trying to tell 2 different kinds of stories at certain points. Like, there are plot lines, which perhaps we could transition to, which are, more focused on, like, characters who aren't named in, appendices and, they're just trying to live a happy life with their family, maybe. Sure. This kind of small folk style storytelling, which could have been juxtaposed with sort of, very like light glazing over the major world events that we know are going to come to pass.
Look, we'll glaze Celebrimbor.
We'll glaze him.
Glazman
Because a lot of people on the internet will talk about Rings of Power in the same way they talk about like these Star Wars shows that are coming out.
Yeah.
And one thing I do sort of agree with that is a general agreed upon opinion by most people who have watched a lot of these shows.
Too many black people. I was waiting to get that one in.
Is not enough all good white characters.
Good.
No, it's that it's that Andor was the best of these shows.
Yeah.
And what was so great about Andor was that it wasn't about like lightsaber wielding individuals like saving planets or whatever. It's just about like one guy who's just trying to get by.
And like making character decisions also.
Yeah.
Which like doesn't really happen in this
Doesn't
season.
really happen.
Because everything's so telegraphed. You couldn't write satisfying
you couldn't make them
decisions.
do anything else.
Yeah, but I mean like Andor, you create like a story about a character and it's set in this world that we all love and it's cool and it's awesome. But it's like it's about that character. You know?
Yeah.
In a way that like this show just really isn't.
Yeah, I mean, well, let's talk about the plot line when they tried to do this.
Yeah.
Arondir. Our Andor
I was assuming you were alluding to Arondir. Yeah, I mean, the elf stepdad.
Yeah.
The dad who stepped up.
Yeah, the elf who stepped up. The elf who stepped up.
That's good. That's good.
Oh.
Yeah, so just unceremoniously between seasons, low-key my favorite character died.
Yeah. The wife.
The wife, or I guess the mom. Yeah, Bronwyn?
Yeah.
Was her name Bronwyn? No. It couldn't have been Bronwyn.
The problem is, it was so long ago when I watched the first season of the show.
Yeah.
That I couldn't really tell you. It's Bronwyn.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Again, hey, my favorite character.
Hey, yeah, love Bronwyn.
Love Bronwyn. No, I don't know why. Like, I just feel like whenever she was on screen, the show was better.
Yeah.
And now she's gone because the actress didn't want to be on the show. So it's just kind of.
So we just got Arondir and Theo and Isildur. We got 2.5 men.
Yeah.
Which is
Will
really...
we raise this human boy?
Can we do it? One man from the Isle of England and an elf and the whatever Numenor is supposed to represent.
Yeah,
here.
I guess it's England. The
Greek England.
Gringland.
Gringoland.
Which, Yeah. So Arondir is just like kind of bouncing around in like other people's subplots this season.
Yeah.
He doesn't really have his own thing going on. Like in episode 3, this when we find out that Bronwyn died unceremoniously off screen of sickness, I suppose.
Yeah.
Of, actress not wanting to be around related sickness. And I guess it's interesting, like, they recast other characters in this season, but they, for whatever reason, decided to not recast Bronwyn. I don't know what the decision was with that. I guess, like, some of the other characters get recast, like, they're under so much makeup that you're like, oh, maybe that's the same guy. But it's, like, it's hard to do that with just, like, a normal human woman. Yeah. Yeah,
and I guess, like, Arondir's plotline outside of raising this human boy...
Will he do it?
The struggles of being a teen, dealing with how teen boys are, is supposed to be him bringing down Adar, because Adar killed his wife or whatever. And I feel like that I don't know,
really happen, does it?
Because you think about it and you're like, well, like, is this even irrelevant? Like, why are we even going to follow this plot line? Because obviously, Adar is going to intersect with like the real plot. The A plot.
The important characters.
So then it's like, we don't need Arondir around.
Yeah.
Because now we have Adar dealing with, like, Elrond and Galadriel.
And it's like, oh, who's gonna, get more screen time between Arondir and fucking, Galadriel? I don't know.
Yeah.
Galadriel,
yeah. Yeah, it just feels like in general, they were building a lot of, like, setup in season 1 for a lot of different plot lines. Then when it came time to, like, do the actual plot lines, they realized they just did not have enough time for everything.
Yeah.
Because so many, like, the Arondir, Isildur, Theo plot line really suffers in this season.
Yeah, and like we get a good amount of it. Like season 3 is pretty much devoted to them, and also like, what are the fuck's happening in Numenor?
Yeah, right. I don't know. It's a new leader every week. That was one thing, a review I saw that I kind of agree with. Like, these people are really fickle. It's like 1 week. an eagle shows up at a coronation and they're like, oh, Pharazon's our king. And then the next week, Muriel's saved by a sea monster and they're like, oh, now she's our queen.
Yeah.
And then there's like a PSA about Sauron invading the throne room.
Yeah, they put
or
up the
something.
95 Theses.
Yeah, and it's like, oh, well, now it's Pharazon again.
Yeah. And like, I don't know, when we talk about Numenor, we can get into, I think there's some level of intentionality behind that. But is it executed well? No.
Yeah.
But yeah, like, so with Isildur and like Arondir, we can just lump them all.
Yeah, they're all doing the same thing.
They're just kind of hanging out, though. I don't know. Isildur gets a girlfriend.
That is the funniest part. Is Astrid, his wildling wife?
It's wild woman.
Yeah, just a stupid. I don't understand the choices that were made to like. They invented a husband for his new wife character.
I guess to have
just so he could
obstacles.
be cucked. Like I don't understand.
Yeah, and does he get any lines? The husband?
I think he gets like a. Oh,
hey, honey, I'm home.
Yeah, right. When they reunited, he like exclaims something.
Uh-huh.
I don't remember what it is.
I'm glad you love me, even though my dick is small, or something like that.
Oh, hey, who's that?
Who's that guy? So we're all going to Numenor, right? Yeah,
that is the funniest moment.
Do you want to break down that scene?
Yeah, so we get all this set up with Isildur and this character Estrid, who is rescued from like this group of wild men who are raiding Pelagir, which is like a Numenorian settlement.
Yeah.
So there's these two groups that in reality are like no different at all, but are fighting for some reason.
Sure.
I guess some of them are like thralls of Adar. They have like marks on them.
Yeah, and it's like they never really get into that, but like what does that mean?
Yeah, I don't really know what that means.
What I had kind of assumed was, okay, Adar took over this place, and like the only way that you can live there is
to, like,
if you brand yourself. But then why are you like being a dick? Like why are you following
through like on these evil deeds?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, Esther doesn't seem that evil. She's like, I don't know, trying to cover up her brand. It seems like she's trying to reinvent herself in a big way.
Sure. New year, new her.
She goes on some adventures with Isildur and Arondir.
And like Theo, because they get back their horse, Beric.
Yeah.
Or Isildur's horse. And like it's Theo, Isildur, and what's her name?
Estrid?
Estrid, yeah. Estrid. And that's when they run into the I'm blanking on all the names.
The Entwives?
The Entwives, right?
They all go to like investigate this camp that was raided, and like Theo's like missing. And they discover some Entwives have like been attacking the wildling camps. I mean, that's the end of that plot line. It's like we don't really see them again, the Entwives.
Yeah, and it's like I guess that's you want the Entwives, right? And it's like yeah, but I would like more.
Yeah,
from
but
them.
not like this.
not like this. Yeah, because they just kind of pull up and they leave.
Well, the funny part about it is the lead up to this is like Estrid and Isildur having insane sexual tension.
Sure. Yeah.
They like make out or something, and the implication is that her husband, she was married, is dead.
Yeah.
Because he was in one of these camps or whatever, and he's like missing now.
Yeah.
We find the husband alive and well. Was being held captive, is released by the Entwives. He's good. He's good. He's around.
I guess then I cut you off earlier because you were describing. I thought you were talking about the Theo stuff. You were describing like the whole thing where Arondir finds out that she's like working with Sauron or like whatever Adar, and is like, oh, we can't trust her. But it's like we can.
Yeah, we can.
Yeah,
we can trust her.
We can. I skipped over that just instinctually, just because like it wasn't very.
Well, it's not. They give you like a 30-second pump fake about like, oh, is she gonna be evil? Oh, she's trying to run away or something. She's evil.
No,
she's not evil.
Yeah, she's pretty cool actually.
Yeah, she's trying to turn her life around.
This conventionally attractive person is in fact good.
Is in fact really good.
Yeah.
What does that say?
What does that say? But like, okay, yeah, and in that scene is a scene that I've seen discussed. People don't like
and they feel disgust.
And they feel disgust. Okay, so like they're in the swamp. Cut to.
Picture this, you're in the swamp.
Yeah. Cut to swamp. And like they're whatever stuck in like
quick mud.
Quick mud, yeah.
I don't know, slurry, like
yeah, and Estrid pulls them out of the mud, but I guess like attached to Isildur is like a snake swamp slug
just
thing.
some swamp beast.
Yeah, swamp beast
some
of some
swamp
kind.
thing.
yeah, swamp thing of some sort. Pulls them out, and like also commendable for her. So strong, she pulled out all three of those things.
I don't know.
Interesting.
It's fun.
And then like Arondir just kills it because it's like, I don't know. He's good. He's an elf. And
they're good at killing things.
Yeah,
he's like a
some
fighting
of them are,
elf,
right? yeah, it seems like there are like martial elves and then like just normal people.
The
elves.
conscripts who die.
The jobbers, the red shirts. God, imagine fucking living for like however long,
thousands of years,
and then you just die by like 7 arrows. Whatever. We'll get into it. But yeah, like, and people see that scene and they're like, ooh, they shake their fists because like they're connecting that swamp monster to like some monster race thing in like Tolkien lore, like lives under the earth, and they're these like elder beings, like older than the gods, like unknowable to the gods.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, they've made this unknowable thing, just like some swamp monster.
Yeah.
It's like, what? Like, I didn't make that connection.
I don't think that's the implication at all. I think it's just like an excuse to have an action sequence.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that kind of goes to show, like, if you come into the show not wanting to like it, you're going to
find something
like
to dislike.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, that just really, and I've, like, it's just so grasping at straws there. Grasping at slug monsters. Yeah. I don't know. Like, that just, it's just something.
And you're gonna miss the beautiful parts of the show.
Yeah.
Because, flash forward, husband is saved. Uh-oh. How are we gonna resolve this problem? Now, she goes off her new husband or her new old husband. New to us.
Something new and something old.
New to us, but old in terms of their marriage.
Yeah, well.
Runs off
and it's
with them.
Grown old. Also.
It's stale. It's really stale. Things are not so hot between them. And they go back to Pelargir, and they're like building a house together in Pelargir. And, she's having a conversation with Isildur, and it's like, oh, how are things?
Yeah. How you been?
She's like, oh, it's cool. Yeah, we're building a house, and it's like, we're blessing the corners of the house to like have a strong marriage or something. My husband really wants to make it work. But
I feel sick.
I feel sick, dude. I feel disgusted
when I talk to him,
when I look at him.
And it's like, she says that, and it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
And then they make out.
Dude.
And it's like, yeah?
Yeah. Infidelity is a big part of the show. Yeah. It's a big part of the messaging of the show.
And usually, like, I don't know. I guess I'm used to just like, whatever, baby's first infidelity stories. Maybe the husband's like an evil bad guy or something. And like we really demonize the husband. But it's like, he's just kind of a guy.
Yeah, we don't see that. We don't see anything from the husband.
He was a prisoner of war.
Yeah, he was. He was. And it all comes to a head when at the end of the season.
Yeah.
Pelargir is rolled up upon by some Numenorians.
By the smuggest Numenorian.
Yeah, by Farazan's son, his dickhead son. I don't remember his name.
We'll get into. Oh yeah, I'll pull up his dumbass name.
He sucks. He's one of the worst characters ever. He's like Joffrey if Joffrey sucked.
Yeah, that's a really good way to put it. Yeah, he's bad.
He was poorly written. Yeah, he rolls up, and there's new management in Numenor. But Isildur doesn't really know much about what's happening. He's really happy to see this guy. It's like, oh, thank God, I'm going home.
Yeah,
I can finally go back to my kingdom. And he's like, yeah, it's me, and it's a +1. It's a +1. I'm taking a +1 with me as well.
Yeah.
And Estrid kind of steps up. It's like, oh, he's gonna take Estrid. That's interesting. They pan to the husband in the crowd. And the guy's just he's looking at it like, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Room for one more. And he like sneakily, in between shots, he like sneakily walks up into the circle and is like standing sheepishly next to his wife.
As if he's going to join.
Like, oh, me too.
I'm coming.
Right?
We're all going to Numenor. What a nice boy this Isildur is, taking us on our romantic getaway.
Well, surely when he said one, he meant, the unit. The married unit.
Yeah.
Nobody, you were never going to see your wife
You are
again.
not part of the deal. He's gonna ferry your wife away. He's gonna spirit your girl away.
I mean,
the-
yeah,
to the
like,
Golden
what do you do?
Yeah.
If some guy's like, oh, you find out he's like royalty from another country. And he's like, oh, yeah, it's going to be me and my girlfriend. And he's gesturing to like your wife. And you're like,
Maybe he meant someone behind my wife.
like, oh, man. Just the fact that he doesn't say anything, but he just stands there.
Okay, whatever. All of these guys from Numenor have like swords and shit.
Yeah,
and,
what
like,
do you're like a dirty peasant.
It's like,
so deeply comedic.
yeah, and it's like, okay, you're watching that scene and you're not laughing. What are you doing?
Come on, what are you doing?
What are you doing? Like, it's a funny scene.
It's really funny.
Let's have fun, guys. Let's have
Let's
fun.
have fun. That's what it's all about.
Kemen is the name of the smug.
Kemen? Why would I never have remembered that in 1,000 years?
Well, yeah, it's no Al Farazan. It's
Yeah.
That's a good name.
Well, it's just an evil name, to be fair.
Yeah.
Farazan is the most clearly telegraphed evil populist
vizier,
ruler, like fascist. I don't know.
It's pretty.
He's
good
not
name.
good. He's not good.
No, he's not.
But yeah, that's the Isildur plot line. It's basically just him cheating with some guy's wife for a lot of this.
Isildur
season.
being the other woman.
The other woman.
Yeah, it's a singing ass episode on Sorta Sorcery.
Yeah. Isn't it always?
Isn't it always?
Yeah, but he also like becomes a surrogate father for Theo.
Well, yeah, he's like a brother more, but like, yeah, they have like a weird dynamic.
This Theo kid's just getting passed around like nobody's business.
Yeah,
Like that day old bread. He just nobody wants to have him.
and it's like it's just so funny how willing he is to be passed around each time. Because yeah, like he really flips on Arondir.
Yeah,
He's like super against in episode 3 when they all get introduced again. And then he's like, oh, I like this guy. And then he's like, oh, super pro Isildur. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, I guess because he's like a human man. It's
Yeah.
like, I don't want an elf
I don't want an elf
dad.
dad. Yeah. And it's like, okay, whatever. You're racist, I suppose.
Sure.
Yeah. And I don't know. If we were going to write out a character,
Right.
it's Theo.
Theo.
You got to lose Theo.
you gotta lose the kid, man. He's not doing it for me.
That's our workshop note.
He's not doing it.
And I know what the fuck. They're going to he's going to chop Sauron's hand off or something. He's going to do something in season 3.
Yeah.
Surely he's going to do something.
He's got to do something in
He's
season
got to
3.
do something.
We're losing
Otherwise,
we're
what's
losing the
fucking
thread
point?
here.
Otherwise, what's the point of any of this?
I know. Yeah. I do feel like the writers are really second guessing that entire plot line.
And that's so evident because they get in episode 3, and then they're really just marginal from there on.
Yeah.
Theo does not do much. He doesn't do anything.
He does
this
nothing
season.
at all.
But it's what can he do with it? The stakes are so high in this story.
Yeah.
What was he gonna help in the battle?
No, he's not gonna help.
He was not gonna help. Yeah.
Sad.
Yeah. Okay. And I guess whatever. That's that plot line.
That's that done.
Done and dusted. Yeah. So we can move on to whatever. Isildur's dad, Elendil, and whatever Numenor
Muriel,
generally.
yeah, the whole political intrigue.
Yeah, the Game of Thrones aspect of this show. Yeah. It's a Game of Thrones.
It is a Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
There's a Game of Thrones being played.
I feel like they're playing a big game with me, with the audience.
Yeah, right. I don't know. And they're trying to make me feel like there are stakes by killing off that one guy. Who, I don't know. I was sad.
He had good
moment.
hair. I liked his
He had
hair.
good hair.
Yeah.
I remember him being
kind of a dick. No, he was a bit of a dick in season 1.
Well, he was, and then he was reformed, and then he died.
Yeah. That's character writing.
Yeah.
He was just becoming likable.
I know. Then you kill him off. Yeah, I honestly forgot he died for a while because I stopped caring the next episode because I realized it didn't matter.
Yeah.
His whole character.
I realized
didn't mean
nothing
anything.
mattered. Yeah.
I didn't like the Numenor stuff, to be honest.
No. I mean, it was hard. It was hard to like.
Yeah, because it's just a lot of characters who I'm not invested in.
Yeah.
The guy, Elendil's daughter?
Yeah.
What was her? I don't know her name.
Elendil's daughter. Okay, whatever. What's her name? I don't even know.
Pharazon's son, Elendil's daughter.
Yeah, Pharazon's son, Kimin, and the daughter. Who is this daughter? I don't think I didn't learn her name when we were watching the show.
And it didn't seem all that important.
Didn't seem all that important. Because I mean, they just didn't give her much to do.
Yeah.
It's not like, oh, whatever, horrible actress, you know. It's just like, not a great,
just not an interesting character, really. Yeah,
because she was very static until like, I mean, by the end, she's kind of questioning things a little bit, but she doesn't like do much.
Yeah, I guess they're setting up in season 3. She'll make some big play.
Yeah, maybe she's gonna be queen, you know.
But I don't. Yeah,
but it's like she won't, because Isildur is gonna be the king. He's gonna be in charge.
Yeah,
yeah.
And Muriel just becomes kind of like a, I don't know, vehicle for the plot. She doesn't really end up doing much of her own.
Yeah, like she was blinded in season 1, so like people are like, oh, I don't want to blind queen.
I guess.
And from there, like she doesn't really do much. She like communes with the sea beast at one point.
Yeah, there's like a sea beast, which I guess is like cool CGI or something.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I guess. Yeah.
And then you think things are good for her because like the Valar save her basically, but then immediately subvert it again.
Well, because our Pharazon has like a private moment with the Palantir. And he sees it and like, and there's like a crackle.
This whole reality
sound effect
snaps.
Yeah, and he like sees like images of Sauron, who I guess he just immediately knows is Sauron.
Yeah,
because
it's like they've had some dealings with him before, right? Is something he alludes to.
Yeah. Okay.
He's like fucked up their shit before.
I buy that. And then intercut with like Muriel.
Yeah.
Like, yeah. And it's like, oh, I guess Muriel's working with Sauron. And you never know. I guess the implication is that, like, he believes that. He thinks that that's true. And he's acting out of, like, genuine
some sort
concern.
of self-preservation.
Which, like, would be an interesting way to play this character for, like, the entire show.
Yeah.
If, like, he was actually concerned with, like, what Muriel's doing.
Yeah.
And was then, like, making decisions based on that. But he just seems like a slimy, like, power-grabbing character, which really undercuts any kind of like serious moral motive you could write for him to have.
They don't ever like give us a reason to see his side of things.
Yeah.
Because he's just pretty evil throughout all of it, like arresting people, his weird police state he institutes.
Yeah. Which, I mean,
I don't know.
People really don't like the treatment of Numenor. It's like, oh, is this like, in the books, it's this like divine,
some incredibly noble kingdom of higher beings,
ideal. And it's like, I guess there's some value in like keeping that the way it is. And whatever, if you want that, read the books.
Yeah,
you can have that.
You already have that.
But I just don't know, like, is that integral to keeping around in like an adaptation? Do we need to have this like isle of perfect, amazing, divine human characters?
I think if the writing was just a little bit stronger, you could really make a case for, the whole point of the Numenor subplot being not really about like the political machinations of like these leaders, but about how things, in the future are like sort of construed through these grand myths of like the idyllic past. So it's like, maybe in the future they'll remember Numenor as being this like beautiful and perfect place, but in reality
it was always
there was all these like political strife issues they had, and there was like wanton murder and stuff that happened. But I don't think they've really set that up well enough.
Yeah, I think the reason why I am like even partial to that decision, like of like on a storytelling level, is because of that idea that you just said. But it's also like, maybe that's just me reading into it.
Yeah.
You know?
But I think they could have done better if, like, when the dickhead son rolls up on Pelagir, it's like he's not just like a petulant child.
Yeah, he's projecting the Numenorian idea.
Yeah, the air of like, I don't know, of Numenor, and everyone's like, oh wow,
Numenorian.
Like, ooh, they're so cool.
Yeah,
but it's like, no, he just sucks.
Yeah, and I don't know. I think a certain kind of person with certain kinds of inclinations, is very partial to the idea of there being this divine past that maybe guys like Aragorn can return us to. And maybe those ideas are not. Maybe they don't need to be reflected through all kinds of literature, you know?
Yeah.
And maybe if you want that, you can just read literature that reflects that. But maybe you don't get mad that
they were
other
telling
things
a different
aren't
story
also
now.
doing that.
Yeah.
Because maybe that's not, a value or idea that's important to everybody,
Yeah, I don't know.
Maybe,
yeah,
right? Maybe.
and things are allowed to be different now than they were in the 1960s.
Sure. But then that was the divine better time.
That was the divine better
We were
time.
basically Numenorians back then,
It's true.
in the 60s. Yeah.
Sad. Well,
yeah.
that's the Numenorian. I mean,
yeah.
Okay,
right? I don't know.
Yeah. Before we run out of time, we should really discuss the Harfoots.
Oh yeah. I mean, how are we on time?
Oh, we're encroaching on the hour.
Oh boy.
We're encroaching on the hour.
Yeah. Okay. So Harfoots, they're in the desert.
They're in the desert.
Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. There's like stewards in the desert who Poppy and Nori meet when they go with Not and Gandalf to Rune.
And like the stewards are like desert hobbits.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which hey, cool. I like hobbits.
Yeah.
I like the desert. Put them together. What if the whole show was just seeing different hobbits, world building stuff?
That'd be cool.
Cool and fun.
That'd be cool.
Get a look into this character Nori, who I like.
Yeah, I fuck with Nori.
I fuck with Nori. But we don't get much of her.
No, we don't.
We really don't get much of her.
I mean, we get some Tom Beadle.
Yeah, we get box office Bombadil. Yeah.
And people like this guy. Some people.
No. People are fucking with Tom Bombadil. Okay.
I read.
Yeah.
Was like, he was really good. He should be in every Rings adaptation ever now. It's like, no.
It's a horrible fan base. I gotta be really real, y'all. We're not good.
Yeah, we're
Us
not
Lord
good.
of the Rings fans, we gotta
reform ourselves. We gotta shape up.
We gotta shape up.
Yeah, I don't know. They just got some like millennial with a beard.
Yeah.
To play Tom Bombadil, and I don't know.
I've seen this guy in my campus's local dive bar.
Yeah.
So many times.
And he's not even wearing like what he should be wearing. Like I don't know. Not everything has to be exactly like the book.
Yeah, or the Magic the Gathering card.
Which is based on the book.
Sure.
It keeps it much realer. Okay. But it's like he's like an eternal being. I don't know.
And I wasn't. He wasn't giving eternal being.
No, he wasn't giving eternal being. And he was just speaking in like weird riddles, which is like not necessarily.
Well, that's how you
Tom
write
Bombadil's
magical
deal.
characters. They have to be vague as fuck.
Yeah.
Because the writers don't know what he's saying, so they're just
he's so mysterious.
Whatever. Yeah, and a big thing this season is like, a wizard needs a staff. A wizard's got to have a staff.
Oh.
You can't be a real wizard without your staff. A wizard can be judged by the size and shape of his staff.
By the girth of his staff.
By the girth and width. Hey, it's not how you use the staff. It's just the fact that you got it.
You got it. Yep.
Yeah. So he like mentors Gandalf through like finding a staff.
He's got to choose between like friendship and his staff.
And I suppose he chooses his staff by the end.
Well, I don't know. It's tough because what I understood, and this I think was really another example of like maybe some subpar writing.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be like the choice between power and friendship was the offer he gets from not Saruman versus like not taking that offer and protecting whatever, the Harfoots.
And it's like, it's so interesting that we're still doing this in fantasy. Like writing just a clearly evil, horrible character, giving like the most one-sided offer ever.
Yeah.
It's like, I'm not going to take
which is a strange play for this show that has like, I mean, Sauron's like we never really see a lighter side of him. Adar is like supposed to be somewhat, not sympathetic, but like you're supposed to understand why he's doing what he's doing.
Oh, God, we didn't even talk about his ass.
Dude, there's so much.
Yeah.
There's so much. We're going to have to go over.
Yeah, we're going to have to go over.
Yeah, the evil wizard in Rune, who's like the antagonist of this subplot. He looks so fucking evil. He's the evilest beard you've ever seen.
They try to pump fake you for a second. Because, like, whatever, in this desert area, there's like these raider guys who have cool Star Wars character masks.
Yeah.
And whatever, they pull up and they're like, fulfill your part of the deal, evil wizard. We were kings once. Silly. And the wizard's like, oh, well, if you just leave the Harfoots unharmed, or like something like that. He's acting nice. And Gandalf's like, oh, maybe this guy's
maybe he's chill.
And then just immediately, Saruman, or not Saruman, Evil Wizard, as he's referred to.
Yeah.
He flips. And I guess, Gandalf isn't Gandalf. He's a stranger. But we know who these people are.
Yeah, come on. Let's get real.
Yeah. But yeah, immediately Saruman, like, what does he even do? Like,
well, because he, the evil guys, the evil rune men have captured Nori.
The
Runers. And it's supposed to be like, oh, you should free them or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, they're griping.
We was kings.
Saruman, not Saruman, just blasts one of them with a magic beam and kills him. Kills him on the spot.
Yeah.
And the other one's like, oh, fuck, we got to get out of here. And like they dip out and they free Nori. And that's supposed to be like, guys, aren't I so chill? I just killed this man for you. It's like, what the fuck? Like, we didn't ask you to do that. And that's his like 1 30-second plea to be understood as good within the context of the story. He's just killing this guy who was bad. He's like, well, now don't you want to join me now and take down Sauron? And
and it's like, oh, would you take down Sauron just to become his successor?
Yes.
And he's like, yeah, unambiguously,
he's
yes.
like, of course.
We can both be his successor.
We can do it together. Just the evilest offer of like, what the fuck? I don't know. Try to be nice. Try.
Yeah, and I just don't know what this tells us about Gandalf's character. The fact that he's turning this obviously evil
that he wouldn't become
down.
unambiguously evil himself.
It's
know.
like, I assumed that he wouldn't. And he didn't.
Yeah, it's not a real choice here.
Yeah.
Because immediately after Gandalf's like, I don't know. It's like, oh, fuck it. And he starts bringing down like the whole canyon and like trying to kill everyone in the Hobbit land.
Yeah, just rocks falling down on them. Yeah.
And then Gandalf has to like use
a big episode for rocks
to
falling.
save him.
Yeah.
Yeah, and then the Harfoot or the Stewards go on like a little migration, which I guess they're going to end up in the
gets
Shire.
Destroyed. And I guess they're going to be the Shire folk. Something's going to happen to these black stewards, and they're no longer going to be how they are. So we can get to the Peter Jackson movies.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Yeah, and it's like we got really little character building with the stewards. Poppy has like a boyfriend now, like a steward boyfriend.
Yeah, like a tall steward boyfriend who's like, I don't know. He seems like man height somehow. Like, I don't know. Maybe just like lanky. He's thin.
Maybe he's thin.
Yeah. But he seems rather tall.
But this was another undercooked plot line.
Yeah, and it's like,
underbaked.
Hey guys, why isn't this the show? Why don't we just do this?
Yeah. Why isn't like, one of these the show? One or two.
Get this Gandalf guy out of here, and then we can make this the show.
Right. We can enjoy our. I mean, that would honestly be a much better show. Like, big things are happening in the world that we don't see.
Yeah.
We don't need we've done Gandalf right, okay? We don't need to do him half-ass.
And like we get implication,
Yeah.
Implication of what's happening far away. Cuz there are these like big huge things that are like whatever shifting stuff. Maybe some Harfoots start acting a bit evilly,
Yeah.
And because the world is just being corrupted generally. We don't need the stuff we already know. Why are we getting stuff we already know?
Because you could just have the Harfoots or the Stewards or whoever the fuck go on their little migration and they encounter like things happening in the story. But it's like
maybe
they're Harfoots,
like,
so like they're always trying to stay out the way. Like they don't have to intervene in the plot.
They try to go to like some place where they've marked off as like, oh, this is the promised Holy Land, Mordor. It's turned into Mordor now. Interesting stuff there. Got to get out of there.
Yeah.
I don't know anything other than nothing, which is what we got.
We got not a lot.
Yeah.
Which is funny because season 1 was a lot about the Harfoots and like developing their culture and shit.
Which was cool. I like that.
Which I think was good.
I guess they didn't really care about the stewards. And like so they just didn't really want to.
Yeah.
I mean, speaking of things of shorter folk that don't really get embellished, the dwarves. Which like
the dwarves
every time because we were breaking down before the podcast we were talking about like the subplots. I forgot the dwarves then. I almost forgot them now. I
would have forgotten them.
Although,
I would have powered down the podcast without ever talking about them.
Funniest part of the show is during the second.
No, that's
or
true.
whatever. Like Ardurin's dad,
Yeah.
King Durin.
King Durin, the old king.
He gets a ring.
Oh my god.
Because whatever, Sauron, he's giving out these rings. He's giving out these rings like hotcakes.
Yeah, right? You get a ring.
Flying
You get a
off the
ring.
shelves.
Check
Flying
under your
off the
seat.
shelves.
You'll find a ring.
Listen under your seat, you'll hear a ringing.
That means good things for you. It's very
that
good
evil
things.
ringing and whispering
Means
that's
fortune.
happening. Yeah, we really get like in the first few episodes we get some of like the whatever ring bearer POV with like Galadriel and the elves who have rings, but we don't get as much of a look in for anyone other than King Durin, who has this. He has one of the rings for the dwarves, and he's just getting mind.
He's just immediately corrupted.
It's so fucking funny. So fucking funny.
At one point, he's the only one who's really using the ring to its full potential. Because Durin, the younger, is trying to reason with him. It's like, take off the ring, Dad. Take off the ring. He gets near him. Donk.
Yeah.
Absolutely hits him with like a whammy ring power we've never seen before.
Oh, it's so good.
Shoots him across the room with the power of the ring.
And it's the Force. He uses the Force.
He uses the Force.
Which will begin a running theme of people using the Force.
Sauron will also use the Force at many points.
Yeah. Pretty silly.
Now, okay. This before I run out of time to discuss this article that I love, this Forbes article that I love, reviewing the last episode and the season more broadly. So one of the things we know this guy doesn't like is Galadriel.
Okay.
Not a new take from the Lord of the Rings fan base.
Sure.
This is something we've heard a lot of, and when describing, why he doesn't like this character at all, it really has a lot to do with the actress.
Sure.
Really loves Charlie Vickers as Halbrand, Sauron, Anatar.
Interesting.
For him, it was really, this episode underscored, quote, what a phenomenally poor choice Morfydd Clark was as Galadriel. I'm sure she's great in other roles, but as Galadriel, I could not think of a worse actor in just about every sense. Quote, she is too mousy. Her voice is too small. Her face constantly pinches into awkward, almost goofy expressions.
He's calling her a shrew, by the way.
Yeah. And it gets worse. Yeah. The more anguished she tries to look, the more I want to laugh. Every time she goes for gravitas, it comes off as petulance. She's poorly written, sure, but the actor is wrong. I cannot I refuse to accept her as Galadriel. Even as Robert Emiraio's grown on me as Elrond, Clark's Galadriel has become more and more intolerable with every episode. Even though she's taken on a smaller role.
Look, I'm fair and balanced. I love the male characters.
I love the men have grown on me. The men have all grown on me. But he says, even though she's taken on a smaller role in season 2, every scene she's in is cringe-inducing and painful to watch.
Yeah.
No, it's bad. He says every scene is like whatever, terrible. And in this big duel between Galadriel and Sauron, which happens in episode 8, is almost laughably bad. No matter how good Vickers is throughout, when he shapeshifted into another version of Galadriel, I groaned.
Oh,
so
when it was a lady and a man on screen, I was balanced. I was like, okay, I have one thing I hate, one thing I love. But then when it was two women,
I hated it.
I fucking hated it.
He concludes the section in Galadriel by saying this. Also, I was really hoping they'd break lore and kill off Galadriel, or say, hey, that wasn't really Galadriel. That was some imposter, and recast her for season 3. The last quote of the sentence: "A boy can dream."
Oh, a boy can dream.
A boy can dream. A boy can dream about killing off all the women in the story. A boy can dream. But the reason I bring this up now is because you want to know what other part of the story he really liked besides the Sauron stuff.
The dwarves.
Not just the dwarves. What part of the story do you think he didn't talk about at all?
Oh.
His black wife. What he loved was the father-son story with Durin and Durin.
Well, sure.
He loved that. Oh, Durin he loved it.
Yeah.
He loved the male-focused plot line, the male-on-male action.
The male-on-male action.
That was the only other part of the story this guy from Forbes liked.
Yeah, and it's like arguably silliest plot in the show.
It's also pretty silly.
But I guess it was the only one that was only guys. So that's, I suppose, a good thing.
Yeah, and he loved like the cheesy, bro-y moment at the end where obviously once he's corrupted by the ring, older Durin's like, we're going to dig straight down to the bottom of this mountain. And everyone's like, Balrog down there, shouldn't do it.
Yeah, you shouldn't do that.
But he's like, no, we're going to do it anyway.
Yeah.
And of course he does. He digs down there himself. What does he see immediately?
Immediate Balrog. Yeah.
Balrog.
Looks great, by the way.
Looks amazing.
Looks great.
Honestly, Balrog's the best part of this episode.
The male Balrog is my favorite part.
See,
when they showed the Balrog swinging fire dick.
Swinging his fire dick around.
When they showed the Balrog full frontal.
Yeah, the stupid cheesy, interaction where it's like, oh, we were always arm wrestling and you always let me win, and Jordan the Elder's like, I never let you raise your arm. It was always you getting stronger. And then he turns around and he charges the Balrog with his axe. This is a good scene! Exclamation point from the review.
Yeah, and it's like,
come on.
I guess we just all come to art for different reasons.
Yeah.
And that's fine and fair. But it's like, bad take.
Bad take.
Yeah.
I don't know. I don't think this scene is any better or worse than anything with women in it. Than any of the plot lines with women in it. I don't think we need to kill off every female character to have a good show.
Because and we tried that. We tried killing off the mom character, and that sucked dick.
We tried.
We tried killing off.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I just want to talk about that review because I feel like it's really going to get a pass because so many people share his view that nobody's going to harp on how like horrific this review is.
Yeah, I mean, just stupid also. I don't know.
Yeah.
And I just really wonder what people wanted from this show.
Yeah.
I guess just men.
Well, they wanted men being bros.
Yeah, which,
they wanted men being bros.
Read the fucking book. That's
the book is nothing but men being bros.
You can get that.
Yeah.
What's the problem? Just refresh yourself on Tolkien.
Yeah.
George R. R. Martin reads that
hard,
shit once every 2 years. You can do that.
You can do that.
Yeah.
And I think you should. I mean, I think the books.
They're good.
Great.
They're
the
good.
Books. But I don't expect every adaptation to be the books.
Exactly.
We did it once.
Books. Yeah.
We did Peter Jackson's trilogy. That's the closest we're going to get.
Yeah.
We're not going to get closer than that.
So it's like, why do you need just? You got to chase the feeling. Got to chase the high, huh?
Got to chase the high.
Like, do something new. Try something new. And that also goes for the writers of this fucking show.
Mm-hmm.
Do something new. Because you're not going to win anybody over by straddling the line the way you are. No one gives a fuck about like Gandalf origins. You know, you're not going to win people over with that. But I guess you are because fucking people like the Tom Bombadil shit. Garbage. It was horrible.
Yeah, I didn't really like that stuff.
And I'm a Tom Bombadil fan. I love Tom Bombadil.
I can understand why in the Peter Jackson trilogy he was left out.
Yeah, I mean the same way I can understand why my favorite part of the books, The Scouring of the Shire, is left out.
Yeah.
Just narratively, it doesn't really fit within like a movie structure.
Yeah, and if you've got to end it somewhere, I think ending it where they did was appropriate.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm going to come out strong. And this could get me in a lot of hot water. I know it could. They could come for me finally with this statement. I think Galadriel was no worse than any other character in the show. I think the actress was no worse than anyone else in the show.
Yes, of course. And it's like insane to me.
Yeah.
When I'm seeing all these fucking, and I understand why you people are fucking doing it. When I see these thumbnails where it's like Galadriel's face, it's like, oh, this fucking sucks. This isn't fantasy.
This is the worst.
This is the worst
shit you've ever seen.
And Galadriel's making a face, ooh, like, just googly eyes. Her eyes are popping out.
Yeah,
right. And of course that's funny. We're laughing.
We're having a good time about that.
But it's like, why is she the lodestone? Why is she like the thing that we're talking about is like the horrible part of the show? She's the same as everything fucking else in this show. In this just okay show. That has very funny moments.
And I don't know. I do think that perhaps one day we'll move on from male writers and reviewers talking about, female actresses and being like, oh, well, she was too mousy. She looked too pitchy. I didn't like the faces she was making.
I had thought we had moved on already. But then I see the reviews for this fucking show, and we haven't.
Yeah.
And it's like, at this point, will we ever? I don't know.
I don't know.
And I don't know. Fantasy is so just like, it's escapist. But like, in going back to the question from episode 0 of the pod.
Yeah.
Escapism for who? Like,
yeah.
If we're indulging in like the tropes and trappings of this like very male-focused escapism, you're going to attract those people and they're not going to like what they see. Now that like we've updated it to like modern ideas. It's like, I just think that this middle ground state of fantasy is not what we need. We need something that's like, I don't know, past that. Something that can move beyond the mold that's been like set for us by amazing stories like Lord of the Rings, like myth generally. But like, I think we're at a point now where we can move past that model. What does that look like? I don't know. But like, clearly what we're doing now is not working.
Yeah. And something we talked about just amongst ourselves before recording this episode.
We talk sometimes.
Because we do talk sometimes.
When we have the time.
And that's rare. That's rare. there are not a lot of people online coming to the defense of this show.
Yeah.
Whereas like there are more for like other, for a lot of the earlier like Star Wars shows and stuff, when people still cared about those shows on either side.
I've seen some Acolyte defenders, which like is interesting.
Yeah, that is interesting in and of itself.
Yeah.
But it's like, the problem is fantasy is already so geared towards a specific demographic that the people who would be defending the show aren't even they don't care. Like,
people are watching a Lord of the Rings prequel series on Amazon Prime. They're not doing that.
So there's just no check back for people who are like, I don't really like women.
And I just was listening. I was going to say I read an article. I did not read this article. I was listening to another podcast talking about an article.
Right.
Where apparently companies, like media companies now, are bringing in like focus groups of like fans. And I'm putting fans in air quotes.
Oh boy.
Of very, critical viewers.
Yes. Yes.
And they are like now watching products and saying, "Oh, well, I would get mad at this. I would get mad at that." And now people are like toning down stories.
Yeah.
So as to not offend fans.
Yeah.
And it's like we're not making anything for anyone. Because these people are not going to like it regardless. So it's like, make good things and people will get less mad. I don't know. And maybe even if they don't, make good things and people will like it. People who are going to be mad at you will like it.
Yeah.
But like this does not work.
Well, because the show does have a problem with writing. Like I think the writing is poor. I don't put that on like a specific
women,
gender or nationality or ethnicity.
It is the Irish's fault, though.
It is. It could have been the Irish's fault.
Could have been the Irish's fault.
Fighting Irish. Always drunk, those Irish.
Fuck those guys.
We can, we can have fun on this podcast, right? We can make fun of white people on this podcast.
That's what we do. That's
a lot of what we do here. But it's like we can say the writing is bad. We should have space to say that.
Yeah.
And we should leave out the other stuff.
Yeah, right.
We should just stay away from the other stuff.
Yeah. She looks like a mouse.
I don't like your bitchy face. It's like, what the fuck are you saying, dude? You're a writer for Forbes.
I was brought in by the fantastical elements of the show until Galadriel started reminding me of my horrible ex-girlfriend.
Yeah,
and then
right.
I just really had to turn it off.
I had to turn it off. I was getting too upset.
My fists were balled. Yeah, I don't know. I think media right now can go in one of two directions. We can either try so hard to be lore accurate and everything, appease these fucking nerds who make up like such a small fraction of the actual viewing public.
Yeah.
Or we can do something. We can tell bold stories that like maybe sometimes they go against the lore, but they're good.
Yeah.
And we focus on writing, and we less product focused actual stories. And I guess in the way I'm saying that, I prefer one over the other.
Yeah, sure. Predetermined.
Exactly, right. But like this story is very much like in the middle of those two options. It's like just enough to piss off the fans, but like not enough to be creative.
Good.
Yeah. Yeah. Which is not to say that like, the more you try to piss off fans, the better the product's going to be. Because that's not true. That's how you get like, I don't know, Halo, the season 1 of Halo. I didn't watch it, but
yeah, sure.
But honestly, like, I mean, that is another thing. Like, when you piss off the fans, you do lose like some amount of like the marketing war. I've never seen Halo, but I've seen so much negative traction against it that like I just assume it's a bad show.
Yeah,
Same
I'm not gonna watch it.
The new like Agatha Harkness show, whatever it's called, Agatha All Along. I like it a lot. When I've been like talking to people about the show, they're like, "Oh, I heard it's horrible." Not, but like everyone online is saying it is, so it's like, "Oh, I guess I'm just not gonna watch it," right? Like, so there's like a very real marketing reason why like you would want to get the fans on the good side, but like, I don't think the good reception from the fans is doing as much as like negative reception is. But it's like, at some point we just gotta move past that. We gotta just watch things for ourselves and see if we're gonna like it. Yeah. Instead of like listening to what other fuck people online are saying.
But it is tough in this media landscape when if I have a free hour, there are like 30 things I could be watching.
That's true. That's
so it's like, well, how do am I gonna watch an hour and a half of Rings of Power to decide if I like it or not? And then if I'm like, well, maybe it gets better the rest of the season, then I've sunk like 10 hours into the show.
Yeah. Just find out that it's just okay.
Yeah.
It's
to
just
have some laughs along the way. And have a lot of laughs.
I'd watch it again. I'd watch
it again. There were a lot of parts I liked.
Yeah.
Glug.
Oh, we didn't talk about Glug.
Glug was one of the best parts of the goddamn show.
And we didn't talk about Adar either, but fuck Adar. Glug is amazing.
Glug's really good.
So in the Peter Jackson Lord of the Rings movies, is the one orc who like is talking to Sauron. Is like, oh, we simply couldn't build this.
The production, it's not enough time.
Yeah, and that's like a kind of fan favorite like meme character.
Yeah.
So they took that and like either intentionally or unintentionally did it again with this guy, this orc Glug, who is like constantly Adar's like right hand.
He's
man.
the labor rep for the orcs.
He's always saying like, oh no, like this isn't realistic. Like the orc, like, you're putting us under too much strain. And every time Adar's like, oh okay. I mean, we should keep doing it. But like I hear what you're saying.
I hear you.
I hear you. And we get more of a look in on Glug as the season goes on.
Wife and kids.
He has like a wife and kids. So funny.
So funny. The orc
so
wife and kids.
Funny.
And the way they just briefly, like they just drop that
just
in the story. Changes the entire world. Like implications for like morality and
exactly.
Like,
the orcs have families apparently.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
Hey,
I'm
not,
along
man?
for the ride.
Why
it's
not,
funny.
man?
It's a funny visual gag.
It
so
is.
I'm with
it is.
And then whatever. Glug keeps bringing his problems to to Adar.
Adar's just too single-minded to really take it
Adar,
seriously.
his thing is he wants to kill Sauron, and everyone's like, "Oh, you're playing into Sauron's hands." And it's like no one ever has any proof to back that up. But I guess they're right by the end of the season because it does play into Sauron's hands because Glug betrays Adar, and he like whatever.
To Glug.
Yeah, and. They all fucking stab
Yeah.
Adar. Yeah, it's just
they give him the Caesar.
They give him the Caesar treatment.
And Senate treatment.
So then Adar or whatever Glug is now, I guess, upgraded to Sauron's right hand man. He's like, oh, the orcs were with you all the way, but we just have a few problems with God.
Oh,
immediately
kills him.
Yeah, kills
him.
He like stabs him in the chest or something. Like
runs him through,
and then Glug's dead. And it's like I guess devil you know, devil you don't, right?
Yeah, right. Yeah,
you probably should have stuck with Adar.
Yeah, it was a really funny way to end this character's arc, who was in like almost every episode that Adar was in.
Low key favorite character.
Yeah, honestly,
Bronwyn season 1 MVP.
Glug season 2 carries the season.
Yeah. Glug holds the season together.
Puts it on his
pure
orc
will.
back.
And I love him because he's a man.
Yeah, and the orcs, like, I don't know, they're just really funny this season.
Yeah.
You get a lot of POVs. Like
there's a running
POVs.
gag. Like when the season starts, like when we get the Sauron goo scene, like what makes him gooify is that like it's when he's like working with Morgoth, and like Morgoth has just been defeated, I guess, and like the orcs kill Sauron.
Yeah. They're gonna pledge allegiance to him. But then Adar like stabs him with the crown.
Yeah.
Then they all jump on him and they start stabbing him.
And like we get Sauron's POV as the orcs are standing above him, like stabbing him. Yeah, it's really funny.
Really good.
And then we get that for Adar later in the season.
Yeah, we do.
We get the Adar POV as he's getting stabbed.
Yeah, the POV shots in the show are really good.
The panning shot and like the fight scene that we didn't, the battle scene we did not talk about.
There's a battle.
There's a battle scene.
Man.
You've heard other people talk about it. Honestly, our opinions would not be any different than like the people who are like
it's
Rings of
pretty
Power
bad.
haters. It's bad. It is bad. It's not the worst action scene in any fantasy movie, as people are saying, but it is bad.
Yeah.
But the best scene in any fantasy movie.
Yep, they're panning across the orc ranks.
They're panning across the orcs, and they're all like,
oh, they're all just so like devious and like gremlin. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
It's really good.
Because these are my orcs. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
it's like these are my fantasy orcs.
Exactly right. Like whatever, you get like your Warcraft, like intelligent.
Yeah.
Like they're just guys, but they're green.
Yeah.
It's like okay, that's fine.
I want to see some get gross, some get nasty,
exactly
dude.
Right.
I want to see spittle on the camera.
Yeah.
Ugh.
Yeah.
Good times. Good times.
Really good times.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed the watch. To be fair, it's like there are very few movies I have actively disliked the experience of watching. There's a lot I have disliked. Some I've
Tales of an Ancient Empire, I did not enjoy that experience.
That was tough. That one was dragging really hard.
Honestly, the latter half of the Backstreet Lord of the Rings.
No, that one was that was a tough watch. I'm sure there have been others.
There definitely have been. Just look, watch through all of our opinions.
And we will have said when we didn't like watching a movie, because normally it's a ball. It's a ball. We have a ball.
True. It's true. And we're balling.
We're balling. We're balling out.
Yeah, and we'll be balling next time.
We'll be balling next time.
As we talk about, I guess, Call, right?
Yeah, we're gonna get back on schedule with Call.
Yeah.
So be there for that. You're gonna want to hear everything we have to say. It's a lot.
It's
Let me tell you.
Oh yeah.
It's good.
It's a good one. And yeah, I guess because we recorded it already.
Yeah.
But it is, it is good.
Yeah.
It is good.
It's one of those good ones. Yeah, be
Yeah.
there next week. And add us in the YouTube comments if you love men and you hate women.
No, yeah, we need your engagement. So if you're like, we should also, we should have said that at the front. Comment whatever you're thinking.
Yeah, comment. Please, like or dislike and comment.
Watch back through the video and start, hating on things.
Yeah, timestamp where you disagreed with us specifically.
That's really good. Sorry, that's bad for us. We don't want that.
We would hate.
We would
for you to
hate
increase engagement.
Oh, we would hate the SEO.
No.
Oh, the S in SEO stands for sucky.
Stands for sucky. Stands for subscribe.
Subscribe. Yeah.
Subscribe. Honestly,
please subscribe.
Honestly, like on a real note.
No, but like really though.
Like,
really
for
though,
real?
subscribe. Whatever. We're too like woke shills or whatever. But if we start seeing that like enough
if we get
men
the numbers,
with like American flag, whatever things in their like icons,
Joker profile pictures.
If we get enough of those subscribing, we're gonna be conservative. Like if you want that, subscribe.
Yeah.
If you want another conservative voice, I know there's not enough people being conservative and saying
clearly not
power
enough.
sucks. Just subscribe to us, and we will. We have no.
Yeah, we're gonna release a re-edit of this episode.
Oh yeah.
If we get 500 likes,
we're gonna re-record this whole episode in like dumb liberal voice, as if to say that we don't.
Yeah, we're
really
gonna
agree.
do like a riff tracks on our own.
Oh, that's
episode.
really good. That's really good. Yeah.
And make fun of ourselves.
Because we can do that. Because we're we have a sense of humor.
Why not?
Why not?
Why not? Nothing's too sacred.
Although we will lose our sense of humor if we become conservative enough.
Oh,
and you
that's
guys
a
like
problem.
that.
Yeah.
Well, but no, that's good. Like, because then they'll subscribe more. If we're like evil,
we were too funny before.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Too jovial.
Yeah, because I just feel like if you're jovial enough, it's hard to like actually take a lot of like conservative ideas seriously.
It is.
But imagine I didn't say that. And subscribe.
Yeah. Well, next week, it's gonna be me and someone else. There will be an undocumented migrant taking Chase's job.
Yeah. Just for the overheads.
Yeah. Yeah. That's what's happening. All the black jobs.
I didn't process that. That's good.
Yeah.
That's really good. That's really good.
So yeah.
Yeah. Well.
Me and someone else next week.
Yeah. I wouldn't even want to say that. I was gonna put out a name, but like I couldn't.
The entire time I was debating.
No, it's like that.
But it's like I'm not gonna go that far.
Yeah. But once we get enough subscribers, we will start making undocumented racial comedy. Don't you worry.
Yeah.
We won't. That's the one. Oh, we probably won't do that. Just stop being a dick about immigration. It's fine.
Come on, guys.
Yeah.
Not coming for your job.
They're not coming for your job of watching Sorta Sorcery.
Oh yeah.
Bye, guys.
Hey, see you next week. Boom.
Boosh.